Hello,
Hello,
good
everyone.
evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good to see you. So we will be waiting for some minutes to let everyone join our webinar. You can see on the screen some questions to you, just to have a small talk at the beginning. So from where are you joining? What time is it for you now? And on scale from 1 to 5, how confident are you in your project's traceability? If you can post a message in chat, that would be nice. Everyone can take a look. Romania. Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. I see from Sweden, from Germany, and confidence is 3. Okay.
Hello.
Something in the middle. Good.
And from Cairo too.
Okay. Thank you. I see somebody saying confidence is 5, so there probably will be some advices from your side, also some hints for us. You can share your good experience about the traceability. 4, so we have pretty high confident colleagues today. Our topic and discussion. From Cairo. Good to see you. So while we are waiting.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hi, Mamadou.
Good.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Going to have some nice discussion today.
Hello, David. Hello, Amra.
Hallo Ron.
Hello, Ron.
Schön hier zu sein. Nice to be here.
Hello, Christoph, Satya. Lots of known names. Not no names, known names. Okay. It's been a long day already.
From the USA. Also, we have some participants. So as we established, the confidence of project traceability is pretty high today. All experts here, which will be very interesting. I propose we can start. Yeah. Hello, everyone again. Welcome to today's webinar on the topic Mastering ASPICE Traceability and Consistency. So before we start, I would like to ask you to follow some rules. You have the option to unmute yourself, but please stay muted during the webinar until our Q&A session starts. If you decide to unmute yourself for the Q&A session, be advised that this session is being recorded. We will have Q&A session at the end. We will be happy to answer all your questions. You also can put questions into the chat as well during our conversation. We will collect them and try to answer them in our question and answer session. Please raise your hand and we will call you so that you can ask your question. Thank you very much. So welcome again for everyone who joined just recently. Today, our speakers will revise the traceability and consistency basics, such as naming conventions versus editorial references, when to use what, hyperlinks versus mapping tables for complex projects, tracing to clusters instead of single elements, internal versus external consistency in SWE1 requirements, and the chapter structure approach for organized traceability. During theory review, we will discuss real challenges from DXC and Melster consulting teams, practical solutions for traceability implementation, consistency strategies across projects and locations, and some interactive problem-solving sessions with experts. At the end of the webinar, we will talk about our next webinar. So let's start. Let me also do a short introduction. So my name is Olga. I've been with automotive industry for over 5 years, working primarily as a certified Scrum Master and configuration manager. So in addition to my Scrum Master responsibilities, I've also contributed to several ASPICE assessments, and specifically for Sub 8 process, where I played a key role in achieving ASPICE Level 2 certification. I'm very excited to have a great discussion today. Let me introduce our guest. Today, Alena, an automotive software professional whose career has evolved through several key roles. Her journey through engineering, leadership, product ownership, project management allows her to bridge technical and organizational perspectives, making her contribution to ASPICE discussions deeply practical and experience-based. Welcome, Alena.
Thank you very much, Olga. I'm happy to be here with you colleagues today.
Yeah. And let me introduce our host. Some of you may already be familiar with him, but for those who are not, allow me to give a brief introduction. So this is Ronald Melster, known in the automotive world simply as Ron. As a principal ASPICE assessor, he helps organizations, projects, and people achieve their goals. He focuses on balancing structure and standardization with pragmatism and efficiency. His journey began in the 1990s when he studied computer science in Berlin and Edinburgh. Initially, he was passionate about coding and soon discovered software engineering processes, from defining software requirements to modular development and process optimization. And since the early 2000s, Ronald has been working in the automotive industry and became one of Europe's longest service ASPICE Assessor in 2005. For him, assessments are more than just ratings. They are about empowering teams, explaining why behind the processes. He has collaborated with Porsche, Carmack, Nippon Seiki, Audio, Porsche, and HERE, influencing hundreds of professionals. And one of his biggest achievements was leading a Porsche development division with 7,000 engineers worldwide to capability level 3. This is fantastic. Ronald is more than just an assessor. He is a mentor, a coach, sparring partner, helping people not just understand the SPICE, but truly embrace it. So, Ron, let's start. Let's start with you.
Thank you very much for the warm introduction and a very warm welcome from my side as well. Let's start with the challenge we face. ASPICE has grown both in size and complexity over the last 20 years. We started with 16 small processes when I was becoming a competent assessor in 2005. Now we have only in the PAM 36 processes, and we have plugins for mechanics and hardware and machine learning and cybersecurity, and we have lots of concepts which you see on the screen right now. And to be efficient, they have to work together. And so we will talk about two aspects. They seem quite small, but they are central to ASPICE: bidirectional traceability and consistency, which is mainly the same. Maybe not. And this is what we talk about today. And so I will introduce you to some traceability techniques, which I have come across in the last years or decades. Then I will talk about my contribution to ASPICE, and then we will continue with discussing internal and external consistency, what this means, and then we have the Q&A session and the wrap-up, and we will announce the next webinar. So let's start with traceability. The first traceability technique, which many might not be aware of, that this is actually a traceability technique, is naming conventions. And the idea is that the artifacts have the same name. So one artifact is named in one way and the other one is named in the same way, has the same name, or in a similar way. And maybe this name can be derived from each other. And so we need some kind of concept here, a traceability concept. This is a best practice, and to systematically derive the name of the origin to the location of the trace. And this is very often used to link between the detailed design in Enterprise Architect or any other tool to the actual source code, to the unit name, to the source code location.
Yeah, and here I would like to present maybe our naming convention technique that we were using in one of our past projects. So our architectural document name had a name of the software element for which this architecture was created. Markdown, it's a format of that file, and it contains some components. Here is example of simple tuner. So tuner contains components like radio and TV, and then we had a convention written in our documentation that architecture document name will be used in detailed design document name, so it would be traced by name. So we had tuner radio and tuner TV. Okay.
And it's okay. The slides are doing something strange.
Yeah, some mystic going here. But then we had the following naming conventions through the whole chain, and we had a convention with directories as well. So for tuner radio, source code was located in directory named radio, and all the software components and units were stored there. And also we had a naming convention between files, source files with software units, and files with test cases for these software units. So they had the same start, same beginning, and test at the end. In that way, we documented everything in our processes. We had a naming convention defined in our configuration management plan, and everyone knew how to find each corresponding artifact for particular component.
Yes, and it's fully acceptable and a valid approach for traceability as long as it is defined in some kind of concept, or you mentioned a plan. Okay, let's have a look at the next traceability technique, which is sometimes called traceability light. It's editorial references. That's the official name in the VDA guidelines, and it's just simply putting IDs into another artifact. Here we have the example, the requirement has an ID, and the ID is put into the source code. So the source code can be traced back to the requirement, and the same as ID is put into the test case. So we can trace from the test case to the requirement. We might need another attribute in the test case to accommodate this ID. And the challenge is actually how to get back from the requirement to the source code and or the test case. So one way is for free, so to say. For the other way, we need some support, for example, by tools like Rectify. Rectify collects the ideas and puts them together and will tell you, okay, how to get from the requirement to the source code location or the test case. Then the next traceability technique is what most people consider a trace. it's a hyperlink which you can click on, and then you end up at the artifact which is being traced to. And this can be within one tool, doors to doors, or between different tools, as long as the tool which is being traced to it provides some kind of URL or hyperlink. So it's very convenient, very easy to use, but it might be more effort to maintain this. You have to copy the URL from one tool into another tool to link the artifacts together. And if we want to enhance this, there are tools, tool links, yes. The next traceability technique is tool links, or sometimes called smart links. Why is that? Because the tool provides some semantics to the link. It's not just a link which you can follow, but the tool knows what the semantics is behind the tooling. For example, a software requirement can link to the architectural element by is implemented by, or the other way around, the architectural elements implements the software requirement. And the advantage of this is that if a software requirement is changed, then the links can be marked or flagged as suspect links. And then the developer or software architect can go ahead and check if the changed software requirement has an impact on the architecture elements. This is supported by tools like JavaSoft or Polarion. And if you want to know more about JavaSoft, you can ask Satya, who is in the call today. Let's move on to the next traceability technique, which might be a little bit old-fashioned. It's a mapping table. So it's some kind of Excel in most cases, where the two artifacts with their IDs are collected and organized. So some kind of database, so to say, how to get from one artifact with one ID to the other one. I've not seen this for a long time because of the ongoing tool support like JavaSoft. And yes, the maybe last traceability, number 6, is chapter structure, which many people might not be aware of. Within one document, you have a chapter name. This can be a feature, and below this, you have the requirements which are related to this feature or which are needed to implement this feature. And you get the traceability for free. How is the feature related to the requirements? Well, the requirements are part of this chapter. And therefore, if you want to implement the feature, you must implement all of the requirements which are below the chapter. This can be one use case, the feature, or you can have chapters for different kind of stages or maturity of the software, and then you move along these chapters. The next traceability is cluster of elements. This is something which was introduced with PAM 4.0, and it has some advantages. Maybe you can skip to the last so that the text is visible. Okay, it's not possible. Okay, now it's possible to trace between clusters of elements, clusters of requirements, architecture elements, or software units to clusters. So it's not one-to-one anymore. One requirement must be linked to one software unit, but a cluster of requirements, like a chapter, can be traced to one architecture element, one component, or one unit. It sounds very easy, then a little bit black and white. One could have the idea to trace the entire requirements document, which is a cluster, to the entire architecture. And you will get the 100% coverage for free, which I think would not be acceptable for most of assessors. And another challenge is, how do you calculate the coverage with clusters? When is a cluster covering the trace? I think you brought an example.
Yeah, more like a question. What
Okay.
are the boundaries for this traceability technique? Because I, as practitioner, would immediately say, okay, let's link all the requirements from this specification to this document, and we are covered. But is it true coverage? How can we ensure that all the requirements are really covered with such?
As I mentioned earlier, we don't get the numbers for free. This is a big challenge. We cannot have a KPI or dashboard. We need to go into detail. Is the cluster actually covering the trace? So ASPICE is not defining any limit. So in theory, you could go ahead and trace the entire document to the entire architecture, and you would be ASPICE compliant. But as I mentioned, no assessor will accept this.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's more applicable for smaller granularity, like, for example, you have small user story with 10 requirements, and then you can somehow ensure the consistency between all these work products.
Yes. If the user story can be implemented in one sprint, that's totally acceptable. Yep. And the last, it's not a traceability technique in the narrow sense. It's not a technique, but something which was introduced with PAM 4.0 as well. Now it's possible to trace from stakeholder expectations to software requirements directly. There's no need to go from stakeholder expectations to system requirements to system architecture and then to software requirements. But now it's possible to link directly from stakeholder expectations to software requirements. And the same is true for, of course, for hardware requirements. This is very convenient for software-only projects because they don't have the system level. Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have an example for that? No. Okay.
No.
Then, if you found this helpful or challenging or both, I have something for you. I created what I call very modestly the ASPICE universe, and which contains videos for beginners. And then I wrote a couple of books. It's 3 by now. There is the interview catalogues and the community of practice. And I will tell you all about these elements of the ASPICE universe on the next slides. First of all, I started with the video courses. Back in last year in August, I was sitting in a studio sweating and recording the videos, and they are on Udemy now, so you can book them. And there is some kind of course for sub-course for the core processes. I call them this way: Month 3 project management, Sub 1 quality assurance, Sub 8 configuration management, problem resolution, and change request management, because these processes are needed for each and every project. And then you can choose if you want to take the course on software processes or system processes. In these videos, I start with the purpose of the process. I explain it word by word. Then I talk about the outcomes, the information items, and the best practices. So it's very convenient for beginners, or if you want to refresh your knowledge about the best practices, this is your place to go. For more advanced learners, I created the books. The first book, which I published in August, is called The Ultimate Guide to Automotive SPICE, 100 plus best practices, which I collected from assessments, from coachings, which I did with Bosch, as mentioned earlier. So I wrote down the challenges which we face in a daily work. And for each challenge, there is at least one best practice. Then I was asked, okay, does it include the cybersecurity extension? No, it did not. So I created another book, which is specifically on this extension. And it's how to integrate the cybersecurity processes like SEC1 with existing ASPICE processes. How do you need to integrate cybersecurity requirements with existing requirements engineering processes like SW1, HW1, or SYS2. And the same is true for architecture implementation, and how can verification processes work together with the normal verification. And the third book is on the human side, the psychological aspects of assessments, which was actually invented by us, Olena, Olga, and me. We did a webinar, I think in March, about the two sides of the assessment. What are the challenges for the team, and what are the challenges for the assessors? And I wrote this down, and it's now available as a book. Then we have the community of practice, correct? Which is, okay.
Okay.
Some strange characters. It's a weekly call where we talk about ongoing challenges. We have discussed about cybersecurity applications. We talked about safety, how to integrate safety and ASPICE. And I follow the ideas of the community. I ask, do you have any challenges from your daily work? And then we discuss this. We discuss the best practices if needed, and how they can be applied in practice. So a weekly call, 1 hour every Friday, 1 p.m. And the last element, which is less known, are the interview catalogues. So for each process, I created questions which can be asked by less experienced assessors. If you want to prepare for an assessment, you can follow the interview catalogues. And of course, for the project teams, they know what questions will be asked by the assessors, and then they can prepare accordingly. So if you want to find out more, there is the link in the chat, not yet, but I will post it in the link in the chat in a second. And there is also the QR code, which you can scan to find out more on the landing page. And now we continue with consistency. Question to you. Which base practice in the process, we have seen you are confident with traceability and consistency 4 and 5, so you probably know the answer. Which base practice in the process, software requirements analysis, SW1, addresses the topic of consistency? Which base practice or base practices? You can put the answer in the chat.
can see the question on the slide. Yeah.
Do we have any answers in the chat?
Not yet. But we had some feedback that someone already ordered the book.
Okay.
And it was very helpful. Thank you for sharing the knowledge. Okay, we see the answers. Number 7. Asking about the standard. So I believe we refer to 4.0. Right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so best practices from that. We see number 7 and number 5.
Well, to be honest, 3.1 is very similar. I think it's one base practice further. Okay.
So 5 is establish baselines. Yeah, 7 is ensure completeness and consistency.
3 to 6. Oh, all of them. All of the base practice. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I need to look this up. Why 3? Christoph, why 3 to 6?
I think they're all at least supported by consistency.
Okay. What is 3 to 6? Feasibility? No.
So 3 is analyze software
Okay.
requirements, which is
Okay.
easier if you have the consistency. And then it's 4 is analyze impact, especially
Okay.
this one, I think.
Hmm.
Therefore, we have to, maybe a little bit more traceability, but consistency is also somehow related, I think. And
Okay.
then the normal one, the 5.
Well, 5 is obvious. It's ensure consistency and okay, you could analyze for consistency. That's true. So it starts with 3. Okay, let's go to the slide. So yes, base practice 5, ensure consistency and establish bidirectional traceability. It talks directly about consistency. So it's obvious, and between software requirements and system architecture, and between software requirements and system requirements. So no one was talking about base practice 1. Why is base practice 1 about consistency? We cannot get it more visible, can we? Okay, I read it.
Something strange here. It's
okay.
just faded out.
One aspect of a good requirement is that it does not contradict any other requirement, which is another word of consistency. And let's take this apart on the next slide. So we have first what I call external consistency. It's not an official name. Can we go to the next slide, please? Olena.
Maybe some connection issues.
Yes.
Let me see if I can share.
Otherwise, I can share as well. We have some technical issues. Okay.
Okay, now it seems working.
Okay. Welcome back. Okay. The base practice 5 is what I call external consistency. Software requirements are checked against something else, system requirements and or system architecture, which means that we have to compare two documents when we check for consistency. So, and the goal is that we follow the traces and check if the traces are correct to the correct artifact, if they're complete, and if they are consistent, if the system requirements are not contradicting the software requirements or the other way around. And what I call internal consistency is within one document. so that one software requirement is not contradicting another software requirement. And this is defined by ISO standards, which are talking about good software requirements or good requirements in general. And of course, the functional safety standard ISO 26262 is also saying that requirements shall not contradict each other, so they shall be consistent within one document. Okay. I think that's it from our side. Then there's just a reminder to copy the URL if you want to find out more. If you don't know where to start, you can always book a meeting with me, and we have 20 or 30 minutes, and we can discuss where to start. And I think now it's time for the question and answers.
So let's open the floor for discussion, yeah? Is there anything you would like to ask our speakers? So please, you're welcome to either put your question in chat or turn on your microphone and ask your question directly. Yeah, so go ahead. Scene is yours. I see already, yeah? How would models CAE play in traceability?
Model-based approaches are a lot more difficult. Why is that? Because in the model you can cover several processes. You start with the architecture, and then you move on to the detailed design within the same document, the same model, and you go down to the implementation. So in one way, you get the traceability for free between the architecture elements, then down to the units, and even to the unit implementation if it's generated from the model. And you have to be aware of this, how they are connected and on which level you are. Does this answer your question, Joachim? I think there was a question from David.
And there is also example, yeah? You have a Simulink model that represents several text requirements. The model itself is not code. It's a blueprint that is expected to be realized in software components and be traceable v-cycle and the life cycle.
Yes. So what we are saying, you have one trace between a requirement, maybe probably in another tool, then you trace to the model, and then you start from there. Yeah. It would be interesting what traceability you use between the requirements and the model. Maybe
it's a question to those who raised it. Yeah, you can unmute.
If you want to answer. Otherwise, I assume maybe editorial references, which is often used to include IDs of the requirements in the model.
Yeah, I see. The answer was yes. Okay, so we have a raised hand and we have 2 more questions. Maybe let's go with the hand first, yeah, and then I can read what's in the chat.
Yes, thanks. Also, thanks for the presentation. I've a question. You said on one slide it was a direct trace or link from stakeholder requirements to software requirements.
Yes.
I wanted to ask, when is this possible, and is that also possible when you have like a safety-related requirements?
I think that the first use case which I mentioned is a software-only project. It is possible in a system project as well, under some assumptions. It depends on the stakeholder requirement. If the stakeholder requirement is very specific, it's already a software requirement, then you can allocate it to the software domain directly. Of course, you need to verify that this stakeholder requirement does not contain any hardware requirement, any system requirement. What else? So it's a little bit more complicated, but it's in a system environment, it's possible as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I saw it once at a supplier, and I was a bit shocked that there was no derivation levels.
Okay.
It was just a copy of, let's say, our requirements, and I thought like ASPICE is really strict in requiring different levels.
It depends.
Seems not to be okay. Yeah, it depends. Okay.
Not anymore, because their use cases. It depends on the quality of the stakeholder requirements. So, to give you a compliment, if your requirements were already verifiable, this is still an expectation. If your stakeholder requirements were already verifiable, they can take them over. But I have sincere doubt that this is possible for all the stakeholder requirements.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, we have also two more hands. I think Thomas was first.
Hello, good afternoon. I hope you can hear my microphone.
Yes,
Chat is not working, so I thought I'm going to ask. How you as assessors, whoever is in audience assessing and has experience with assessments, how will you be looking at AI-driven traceabilities? Because now we're hearing so many stories, that tools are wipe coding. We want efficiency and everything. How was your view?
How did you know? This is a spoiler. We will do a webinar about AI next time. Only about AI. And to shortly answer the question, traceability, yes, I think it's possible to generate software requirements or test cases. It's even simpler based on requirements, system requirements to test cases, and you get the traces for free. I have doubts about the consistency, that the consistency can be checked in total by AI. AI can support you by guiding you to what I call smells. Okay, there are some two requirements. They sound dodgy, so to say. Maybe a human has to look at the requirements. This is possible, and but it's not black and white.
Yeah, I believe it says also, it's possible. Technically, it's possible, but is it the right thing to apply? For if it's full of still requirements, then God knows what can happen, right?
Do you have any experience with ChatGPT hallucinating?
we all have, I think. We all have.
Yes, and we don't want this in our requirements. Yeah, I agree.
Indeed. Okay. Thank you. That was a good answer. Thank you.
But I would like to add here that, as always, every time you have some output from AI, you need to double check, right?
Yes.
That means that you can use these tools that can help you to establish traceability or find the gaps in the traceability.
Definitely.
It can give you a hint where you have broken links or something like that. But while you're checking the output, the outcome, you will also check the consistency, like we usually do. We do consistency check during review process. This would be just another different review process for AI work, products for AI work.
And does that imply that we are missing the next ASPICE version that covers these things already and mandates these things?
Short answer, no, we don't need another version, because the current version covers this, because ASPICE does not tell you how to get to the trace. the traces can be fully created by AI. Okay, it's fully compliant with PAM 4.0. How you get there is your decision. As long as you check for consistency. What Olena mentioned, someone need to check for consistency. And from my point of view, this must be a human.
And I would like to mention from our experience in one of our projects, we were implementing a script, not AI yet at that time, but we had a script that checked consistency from source code to detailed design to software units, unit source code to unit tests. So there was a script which ran over our artifacts and showed me where we have a gap. It helped us. Now this tool would be not a Python script, but AI large language model. This is just another tool that will do the same consistency and traceability check for you.
Yeah, but the determinism is not there with it. You know, script is a static, how to say, line. Is once you review it, it's done. But AI is just not undeterministic.
No, not yet. It needs guidance, so to say. Yeah.
But it's human in the loop, I believe. Yes, is a good fair balance.
Okay. Oh, human in the loop. Okay. maybe one last question.
From Ahmed, and we have also questions in chat. Let's see if we will have time for those.
Yeah. Hello, guys. Hope all's going well. Thank you so much for the presentation. I just wanted to add a small note in addition to a question that I had, a small note regarding my colleague's question, the previous question, having some experience using some AI tools that were internally developed to compare and have some consistency reviews. To be completely honest, they're some sort of unreliable when it comes to for example, the calibration references, if you have some requirements that are like dynamic and strictly refer to some calibrations in a third-party tool or like an external document, then AI will always see this as an issue or like a non-conformance. Don't think AI would be very reliable if you have like a large-scale project or a dynamic project. This was just a note that I wanted to add.
Okay.
The question that I have is when it comes to the cluster-to-cluster traceability that Ronald, you have discussed with us or explained to us before. I really have a doubt when it comes to a cluster-to-cluster traceability. How can we ensure the one-to-one traceability inside? As you know, ASPICE is very strict and very concerning regarding the traceability and the consistency. I could imagine having one to cluster or cluster to one, but a cluster to cluster would be a little bit concerning. How can you explain this further?
First of all, it's up to the organization or to the project to decide if you want to use cluster to one or one to cluster or even cluster to cluster. It's more of the responsibility of the organization. Okay, how can you convince the assessor that one to cluster is actually covering everything? And if you fail, you will get a weakness or deviation. So it's more responsibility on the project side. It's not as straightforward. We need 100% coverage, system requirements to system test cases, which is easier. And I assume that many projects will stay to the one-to-one traceability, which is fine.
I believe so, yes. Me as an assessor myself, to be completely honest, if I see the cluster case between like system requirements and system test cases, it would definitely concern me. It would be a red flag.
Okay. Yes. So I was surprised that when I saw this new technique in the VDA guidelines, it looks easier, but it might not be easier.
I totally agree. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much for your answer.
You're welcome.
still have some time. One more hand. Yeah, please go.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So, thank you for the presentation, all of you. So my question will be around regarding the techniques you present for the traceability. Yeah, can you tell us which one are mostly used for traceability? You present 6 techniques of traceability. So which one are mostly used today as your experience? Can you or tell us which one are used? So I don't know, maybe yeah, by link or maybe by ID of the requirement ID. I don't know. Yeah.
It's an excellent question, and you may see me hesitating. It's not easy to answer. It depends on the process. As I mentioned, software requirements to model-based environment would be the ID, the editorial references. It depends highly on the tool. If you have a very profound tool like JavaSoft, then you might use smart links throughout your project, and you do not need to have editorial references or any other tools. On detail level, as we have seen earlier, it's very common that you have the naming conventions. Prashant, yes.
Okay.
If I can find the...
Yeah, there was a question for coverage between phases such as SIS2 and SWE1, SIS2 and SIS5. What are the best practices recommended? We follow a matrix showing any orphan or child task not linked between phases. Anything else?
Which is a good approach, which many projects and organizations forget. Orphans and child tasks. To give you a best practice regarding the phases, you can have 100% coverage for each iteration by defining the subset for the beginning of the iteration. So you have start with 50 requirements, just to tell any number, and then you fully implement and trace these 50 requirements, or 10, whatever. So in this case, the coverage will be 100% for each iteration, which is an ideal world. If you start with, let's say, less coverage, then I would recommend that you present a roadmap. Okay, for iteration number 1, we want to reach 20% of coverage, for iteration 2, 40, etc. And then by the 5th iteration, you end up with 100% coverage, which is a best practice as well. Okay, maybe one more question, and then if your question was not answered, a lot of questions, you can always schedule a meeting with me, and we can answer your or I can answer your question specifically.
So the question, I have with a hand, so probably a hand. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. So I just wanted to ask. So sometimes I think it's hard to trace, for example, architectural design decisions, non-functional specifications, and so on, always to a higher level in a meaningful way. Of course, you can do it anyhow, but yeah. So I, in general, think a specification should be traced always up and down and to the right through testing.
Yes.
Do you recommend to set up rules with conditions when this is not applicable and not required, or does it only make it more complex?
No, it's actually a best practice. to exclude non-functional requirements from the statistics, from the KPIs. So we have talked about the traces. They're mainly about functional requirements. So to make it a little bit clearer, you have 100% of your requirements, let's say on system level, and some of them are non-functional, 10 of them, you exclude them. You will not trace them to an architecture element, which you can do, but the challenge is that you might want to trace them to all of the architecture elements, and this is not of any value. Then you justify this non-functional requirement and exclude it from dashboard, so to say. And yes, I've seen it many times, and it's acceptable.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the complete event.
Okay. So, shall we announce the new webinar?
Yep.
We already received a spoiler.
Who wants to present the slide? On, I think, the 3rd of December, we will talk about AI along the V model.
Let me present it like that. I apologize for technical issues today.
Yes.
At least you will see it written here on the screen.
You will see the announcement on LinkedIn as always. Yes, we will prepare the challenges, the pros and cons. We have discussed some of them today. What are the benefits of using AI, and where do we have to be careful with AI?
Yep.
Okay.
So looking forward to see you December 3rd. It would be short because we decided to do it before Christmas and all the New Year holidays. And as always, bring your questions. Let's have a nice and productive discussion.
Yes, as always. Thank you very much. Sorry for the technical issues we had today, but I don't think it spoiled the content. Thank you for your questions.
That was a great meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you very much, Ron. Thank you, Olena. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.